so much for joining my masterclass. Today, I'm going to start with this. Showing up as your most authentic self is showing up for you. Who are you? What do you value? Asking yourself, who am I? And am I showing up as myself in all facets of my life, in the workplace, in personal life? So by aligning your values and showing up as who you're meant to be, that is you showing up as your authentic self. So let's get that out there because I wanted to clarify what showing up as your authentic self looks like. Okay, my front desk journey, my hotelier journey. I started off as a front desk agent, and it was my very first hotel sales job. I was going to college. It was in my early 20s, and I was going to school for interior design. There's a backstory there, I won't get into it. But I fell in love with the front desk, and what I fell in love with was the deep connection I was able to build with guests. I was working at an extended stay hotel, and most of you who are in this world know that extended stay hotel is that. They're guests who stay long term. So what that means is eventually you get to know the guests, their families, their pets, and that is what I fell in love with, was not having these surface level conversations. It was digging deep. You know, if I housed, I wouldn't say housed, but if we took in a guest who was there for a project and they were working for an organization, finding out what they're doing and being part of their journey while they're visiting and staying at the hotel. So it was amazing. I loved it. And again, deep connection, digging deep, asking deeper questions, getting to know guests. And ultimately it felt like a family. I'm Mexican American and I come from a very large family. We have a lot of cousins and aunts, and I felt that type of culture and those values within the hotel space. And that is what drew me in right away. From my front desk journey with the same hotel and the same management company, I started doing some extra things around the hotel with the sales department. I was intrigued and curious, and I noticed that they were going out on sales calls, clients were coming, there was site visits happening. So what I started doing was offering help. I started prospecting for my sales team. I was doing extra projects, making sure that group blocks were in place, handling rooming lists. So I started doing a lot more in the sales world. And when a guest would show up and someone in sales wasn't available, or let's just say a potential guest and client, I would give them a site tour of the hotel. And I love that piece as well. It was the relationship building. It was getting to know a customer, asking them questions to understand their needs. And that's what I loved. So with that, there was a promotion. Thank goodness a sales role opened up. And it was my very first sales role in the hotel sales world. And I started off as a Smurf sales manager. Being a Smurf sales manager is a lot of fun. You are handling social, military, education, religion, and fraternal. And that means a lot of social groups. Wedding blocks, you have maybe some church groups coming in and staying in the week, for the weekend for a conference. So it's all of the fun stuff that I also love to do. I am a social butterfly. I feel like naturally I'm an introvert, and I had to be a learned extrovert. And I did that by pushing myself at school. Backstory, I went to a high school where I was transferred. My mom put in a transfer for me to go to this high school. She didn't want me to go to this other school. So I had to learn to socialize and put myself in groups. And I was part of a student body group. And I think through those experiences of pushing myself and getting uncomfortable and learning and growing within new groups, that helped me in this place and space in the hotel industry. So with that being said, I fell in love with being a sales manager, and I was out there knocking on doors. I will say this, the least favorite part of the job for me was a door-to-door B2B sales, going business to business, knocking on those doors. I remember having to wear costumes at times. It was maybe a themed sales blitz. I remember calling my mom sometimes from the car, pretty much in tears, yes, super dramatic, but telling her, I don't think I can do this. I don't think this job is meant for me because in this moment, I am so afraid to walk into this business because I don't know who's behind that door. And it was something I had to mentally prepare myself for. And talk about anxiety. At that time, I wasn't meditating. I had no clue of what meditation was. There was no deep breaths happening. It was pure anxiety. And I had to learn to remove that fear. And again, stepping into the uncomfortable situation so you can learn, grow, challenge yourself. And then eventually it gets comfortable, right? It becomes a cakewalk. And again, it's something that I had to grow into. And after I got through that, by telling myself, listen, no one behind those doors, they don't know who I am. I can be anybody in this moment. And I'm asking them a question. Hey, listen, do you have travelers who visit your office and do you need a hotel stay? And it was that simple. And it didn't have to be anything bigger. And I will, admit that part of that experience, I had to go to a Marriott extended stay, a sales edge training, which thankfully the company invested in me to go in because I learned a lot of sales techniques. I learned then how to point out certain things within someone's office and build rapport. And that came natural because I was curious. Like if I saw a framed photo of kids, I would ask, oh, who are they? And naturally, I felt like that is what I started to focus on was my strengths. I'm great at building relationships. I love to get to know people. I love to hear people's stories. I love to know how they got to where they are today. So if I was talking to an executive assistant who booked travel, I wanted to know, did you go to school for it? How did you stumble upon this career? What's your favorite thing? Those are the questions I love to ask. So learning in the sales side of things, if you're a new hotelier out there and you're just getting started, my recommendation is to be curious, okay? After that, more doors opened up. A headhunter is what we call them, but really the recruiters called me and it offered me a position at a resort. And by that time I had moved from Smurf sales manager to corporate sales manager, and corporate is handling more, your Fortune 100, Fortune 500 organizations who have corporate travelers coming in. So your business traveler segment. And I was doing that as well. And again, really enjoyed that space. And when that recruiter called me for a new opportunity, it was at a resort. And of course I was like, wow, what would it be like to work at a bigger property, right? With hundreds of rooms. And I talked to the leadership at the time, told them about the opportunity. And the most supportive thing happened was they said, yes, this is a really great opportunity for you. And even if they didn't say that, I almost wonder if I would have stayed or not stayed, but I will say I am so thankful for seeing it as what it was, an opportunity to grow and learn. So I took it. It was a great opportunity. I learned, I got to work with F&B. I got to work with so many different facets. And when I welcomed a guest, it looked a lot different welcoming a guest into a resort style property than into a extended stay property. And you treated them at your restaurant, and maybe it was a spa day, and we had golf. It was a golf resort, so which was a lot of fun because if it was a client who loved to golf, it was great. You can set them up with a tea time. And when I was there, I was going to school full time. I changed my major to business management, full-time school, full-time work, and commuting. If you are a Southern California native, that's where I'm from, you know that commuting can be brutal, okay? Brutal. And I just couldn't do it. I felt like I was really just going to a point of I wasn't happy anymore. And again, going back to, it's okay to say yes to something, and if it doesn't work out, that's okay too. I left there, and thankfully, with open arms, my extended stay property that I lived 10 minutes away from said I could come back. There was a position for me open still in the sales department after 6-7 months, I believe it was. So I didn't stay long at the resort. Went back, and then another door opened. That management company had a task force position open up. Task force is when either management company or a company who has multiple hotels may ask you to help another property out. So you're working at another property, even though you may be employed by, a different property, or the management company may just task you to go to wherever there's need. And in this case, a director of sales was going on maternity leave, and I said, yes, I would be the interim director of sales for 3 months in Central California, wine country. It was the very first job I ever had that required travel and having to live at a hotel and leave home. I've always worked close to home. So I remember being so afraid, and I had just graduated college. I got my degree, and the week after, this task force role was going to start in the winter, and I graduated in December. It was gonna start the week before Christmas, I wanna say, was my move-in date. And I said yes. And when I did it, I was afraid. I remember driving 5 hours north to get to this hotel, unpacking, sitting on the bed and thinking, oh my goodness, like, what do I do? And at that moment, I drove my car to the downtown area, and I grabbed a sandwich and I walked around and I said, okay, I can do this. I know I can. It's uncomfortable, it's scary, but I believe in myself. I can do it. My family believes in me, right? I had a really great support system. And after that, more doors opened. I completed that task. I was hired on as the area director of sales for 3 properties and with the same management company. And again, going back to some moves aren't the best move. That move wasn't a really smart move for me. I had to relocate completely, and I ended up leaving the industry for a year. Went to another, industry, healthcare, and it was not a good fit for me. And when I say sometimes you feel like you're starting over, I felt like I was starting over when I went back after leaving the industry, went to healthcare, then went back because I was now doing another sales manager role. Ego sometimes will prevent you from pursuing the things you love. So you have to check your ego, okay? I say this because I was battling mentally with the idea of having to start over as a sales manager when I had carried roles as a director. And if we remove the titles and you're just following what you're passionate about, then it is the right thing to do, okay? And I say that again, going back to ego. I pushed that aside and said, listen, I love this industry so much, and I believe that there will be a lot of opportunities for me to be in different roles and positions, and I can do this. So I went back. And after that, more doors opened, became regional sales support for a management company and did new hotel openings. And that was so much fun, doing pre-opening, new opening sales, and meeting new people. And again, digging deep, building relationships, building connections. And I went from that to now today, I sit in a global sales role. I support third-party planners who book, MICE. And I'm still on this journey, right? I'm still learning and growing. And guess what? The hotel industry is so big. There's so many different departments you can work in. If you want to try revenue management, if you want to try sales, if you want to try operations, where maybe now you're supporting a franchisee, if you want to try marketing, that's something I'm really interested, by the way. I love the marketing piece, and you can. And I didn't notice that until recently when I started moving into corporate roles, that there's so much out there. So my message to you as a hotelier out there is, it doesn't have to be a ladder you climb. You can create your own path. You can try something, not like it, and that's okay. You learned. You didn't fail, you learned. You learned what you didn't like and what you liked. And that is so important, especially when you are trying to align your values to where your work is. Try it out. If you don't like it, you can move up too, if that's your jam. Again, going back to authenticity, it is you who wants to show up as your most authentic self with, the mind of making sure your values are aligned to your role. So today I'm in a place where I'm in discovery. I'm here for you. I'm here to support you, to share my journey with you. And I'm so excited that you are part of it. So thank you so much for being here. We are going to be covering a lot of different topics. So stay tuned. As I mentioned, this is going to be several weeks. And again, if you have any questions, reach out. I'm here for you. You can find me on my website at hotelindustrytalk.com, LinkedIn, big LinkedIn person. So feel free to connect with me on there. And if you ever just want to chat, I'm here for you. And if you're a hotelier that is interested in sharing your story with me, I am all ears. So thank you for being part of my journey, and we will see you soon. Bye.